Hey everyone, welcome to Smash Trivia. I'm your host, Smash Trivia John. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia to follow everything happening with me. I'll be the one with the big old green head in the profile picture. So excited to get into this. This is the Gamma Analysis. Basically, in this series, I'm gonna review everything Hulk, all the movies, TV shows, and I also do random other geeky films. Occasionally, not so geeky ones too. And I also like to mix things up once in a while by not reviewing anything. Hope you enjoy Smash Trivia Presents The Gamma Analysis. I want to ask everyone listening if they can please do something for me. Please share the hell of this podcast with all your friends. If you don't, Hulk will be angry. Now that we have all that important stuff out of the way, let's smash right into this episode. Hello, my Gamma friends. Today, I'm gonna review Mother, and I'll be doing this with my friend Clayton from the Men Who Like Movies a podcast. How you doing, Clayton?
I'm doing great. I'm so sorry for making you watch this.
It's all right. It's all right. Hey, I've made you watch some pretty fucking crazy films, so I think it's much deserved for me to have to watch like crazy. Um, this is a film that I did not love. I know you do like it a lot. Like main thing that when I was so for the people listening, I watched this twice and I liked it a lot more the second time. I didn't love it, but I liked it a lot more the second time. But like the first time, the biggest reason why I really disliked it is just I felt annoyed the whole time at I'm at all of these people, and also a little bit annoyed at Jennifer Lawrence's character, or because like particularly like in the beginning, she very much allows this to happen.
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
Yeah, like um also I think there's different things in the film that I don't make a lot of sense to me. I'm like, what was the point of that? I like
Well, I'm
I
so glad I'm here to be able to help you through these questions because I have seen this movie a lot and talked to a lot of people about it.
Yeah.
I am glad you watched it a second time because this is one of those things that it kind of requires that, you know?
Hmm.
Um, I went and saw this opening night in the theater and there
Okay.
weren't a lot of people there, but as soon as it finished, somebody stood up a couple rows in front
Uh,
of me and was like, "That is the dumbest fucking movie I've ever seen in my life," or the worst movie or something. And I was sitting there and I was like, "Well, I don't think it was bad. I just think maybe we weren't smart enough to understand it." And so I was thinking about it a lot and watched it again and stuff. But are you religious at all? Did you grow up in a religious family?
yes, I grew up in a very religious family. I'm not religious anymore. Um, I left the faith a few years ago. And have not turned back since.
Yeah,
And
this movie is just the story of the
yeah.
Bible.
Oh, okay. I did not realize that.
Think about it. So they're out there. Javier Bardem's character is just credited as he or him or something. And so he's God. His little jewel in his study is like the apple in the garden. His study is like the Garden of Eden. Ed Harris's character is just man. So he's like Adam. Michelle Pfeiffer is Eve. They have the two sons. One murders the other. And then it just like flash forwards all through human history. When the
Okay.
when the sink breaks and the water starts pouring in and she's like, get everybody out of here. That's like the Great Flood that wiped out humanity. Um, yeah. So
Okay.
if you watch the movie with that in mind, but also it's kind of blending together that and she's kind of like Mother Earth and it's talking about like how humanity treats the earth and takes advantage of it and everything. There's a lot going on in it. But yeah, it's
Okay.
also the most anxiety inducing movie I've ever seen in my life.
Understandable. Like the I I didn't have as much anxiety the first time watching it, but particularly with that last 40 minutes or the second time watching it, it was just like, God, this is so much. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's all of
Yeah.
human history and how awful we are
Yeah.
in 2 hours flat. I
Oh
think the
man.
first half of it is worse for me because the thought of just a ton of people showing up and not leaving and not listening to you is just like my worst nightmare. It's
Yeah,
so
I like
frustrating.
that like pissed me off so much in the first time I'm watching. The second time watching, and I knew it was coming, so I was more okay watching it, but that first time watching, I just couldn't get past how annoying it is. These people, they won't leave, they won't listen. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, we're just taking over the earth
Though,
and ruining everything. But especially that back half, I mean, it flies through human history. I mean, the Crusades, riots, sex trafficking, just like all of it. And the whole thing he's writing is like the Bible. And the guy, when he's like, I feel like this was written just for me, just everything. And it's just about religion and all of the stuff that that causes. After I watched it the first time, I was like, well, I think Darren Aronofsky, A, believes in God, and B, thinks he is a massive asshole. Uh, and it also has a lot of stuff to say on like artist and what it's like living with that type of personality and what they need. And just again, like there's so many ideas going on in this, but also a lot of people really hated this movie, like aggressively hated it. It's one of the few films with an F cinema score. So I recommended this to you because I mean, I just love it. And I was like, what is the weirdest, most pretentious thing I can make John watch? And I was like, of course, Mother. I mean, it's got a lowercase title and an exclamation point. I mean, pick one. You get one or the other. But
uh,
yeah.
oh, so I'll at least one of my questions basically is basically does not matter matter if it is the if it is just the supposed to be the story of humanity, which was just which was, is this really happening or is this in her head? Are these people real? But if it's just supposed to be this metaphor or of the of all of humanity's history, then that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's like all of human history and religion and stuff and a metaphor for God, but like framed through a home invasion story.
Mhm.
Um,
Now, two particular things that I was very much wondering about that I'm not sure what was the point of one of them is when the son that kills the other or tells Jennifer Lawrence's character they are robbing you. I don't know what that was alluding to since they didn't seem to be at least those people didn't seem to be stealing anything.
I mean, they were still just taking and taking, and then as they multiply, kept taking more and more literally. And another weird thing, like, when Ed Harris is like throwing up in the bathroom in the middle of the night, and there's like a spot on his side that's cut open before his wife shows up, and that's like where God would have removed the rib to make Eve, just crazy stuff. But
Uh,
not everything isn't a one-to-one comparison to like, for instance, the medicine that she drinks throughout the movie that looks like lightning in the glass. No idea what that can mean. The director hasn't said. It's
yeah,
just,
I was very much wondering about that. During the first time I was watching, I was thinking up until the pregnancy reveal, I was thinking, oh, she's already pregnant, and this is just some medication that she has to take for it. But then they revealed she's pregnant, and I'm like, okay, I guess I have no idea what that was about.
yeah, I could not answer that one for you. I've tried and tried and tried. People have some theories, but I don't think any of them are particularly strong. It's just a weird little detail.
Yeah, and then the other big thing is so obviously Jennifer Lawrence's character ends up using the little room behind the wall at the end and um to get the gasoline to blow the place up. But what was actually that room? Because it didn't end up being like a big plot line, and it just the wall opens up and then they don't come back to that until the end, and it just seems to be the room she happens to be in, and to light everything up.
So my theory on that is that's when the Earth just gets destroyed at some point, which, not too far off. Uh and like at the beginning you see the end of this cycle with another person that is not Jennifer
Mm,
Lawrence on fire is how the movie starts. And at the end, obviously it started over just on the cyclical nature of history and God being a narcissistic
mhm.
asshole. It's like I'm just gonna keep doing this and trying it, destroying over and over and over. Um, I think what annoyed you about Jennifer Lawrence's character is she usually plays very strong characters. And to my knowledge, this is the only one she's ever played that was very passive.
Mhm.
Like stuff's just kind of happening to and around her. And it's just so frustrating because you just want her to be like her usual self and standing up for
Mhm.
things. But I mean, she's kind of in an abusive relationship.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. When I was first starting to watch the film, for the first time on Sunday, a first thing I thought was why these two as a relationship? The Javier Van Dam and Jennifer Lawrence do not have chemistry with each other. This is a weird choice, but since they aren't really supposed to be romantic, it kind of makes more sense then.
yeah, it's kind of inspired casting. Um,
Oh,
Not two people you would really put together.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, like something that it kind of annoyed me that just didn't feel like it made much sense was. Like I don't think in real life someone would like right after or yelling at their significant other because they'd be angry about how their significant others has been treating them, and just and then the significant other are aggressively coming up to have sex with them. I can't imagine like just like all of a sudden and changing your mood and just be like, oh, I'm into it now. You're like, what?
Well,
Okay.
relationships are complicated, John, and
Ah,
love and hate are very, very close together, and angry sex is uh pretty great sometimes. So,
it's just like it just felt low out of nowhere. She's like no, get off me, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh, I like this now. I'm like, okay.
I mean, it's a little bit problematic. It didn't seem like it was 100%
No.
consensual and everything, but I mean,
Hmm.
been there. It's
It's not.
not out of the realm of possibility for
He's not
sure.
exactly supposed. The husband's not supposed to be an unproblematic character. Yeah, I think the character I liked the most in the film was Ed Harris's character. He seemed like the only nice person in the film.
I mean, they're all really obnoxious, but personally, I like Michelle Pfeiffer just because she's such a bitch. All of her line readings and the way she's just chewing scenery the whole time. It's one of my favorite Michelle Pfeiffer performances.
Oh, I was surprised with Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer's characters that like, I was thinking when they left after their um funeral celebration I was thinking they were gonna be coming back at some point, but it really surprised me that they just disappeared for the rest of the film.
Well, again, I
Oh,
mean, look at it through the
yeah.
scope of human history or even human history through the scope of the Bible. Adam and
Mhm.
Eve aren't around that long.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
But it is kind of
I like
surprising to see actors of that caliber be in such a small role.
and like I oh I didn't like obviously the first time I was watching, I didn't know until the end that Javier Bardem is the actual villain of the film. I was thinking Michelle Pfeiffer was the villain for
No,
because of
she's
how
just doing her little Eve ways and tempting.
yeah, like in you know what yeah. Oh, like I was talking about earlier, how I thought that like that that medicine was alluding to the Jennifer Lawrence being pregnant. I was also thinking that the reason why she wasn't drinking was because of her, was the same reason, and it was and so I was very surprised when they later had the she was pregnant. I was like, okay, so what was all that before that end? But obviously, as you said, we don't know what that was at
My
all.
own theory, and I don't have anything to base this on, but this is just my headcanon for what she is drinking, is that something about the way it looks reminds me of a storm or lightning, and you know how it storms and stuff to kind of stabilize things in Earth, our atmosphere and stuff. So I was like, maybe that's what was going on since she's supposed to be like Mother Earth.
Mm.
But I really couldn't tell you, but that's the only
Oh
thing that
yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of
I'm not.
I would love for you to come up with a theory on that because I just love hearing them. And this is a movie
Oh,
that is very, very open to interpretation, which frustrates a lot of people.
I don't know. Some um some kind of pain reliever is really all I could think of because it's because she was in pain and every time beforehand. And I was thinking, yeah, some pregnancy pains, but obviously that wasn't the case. So I'm not really sure at all. The trying to think what else did I really want to talk about?
How did it make you feel watching it besides frustrated?
I mean, that's really the main feeling I had watching. I didn't have like many different feelings.
It just makes me feel, I mean, not so much anymore because I have seen it quite a few times, but um yeah, it just made me feel anxious. I've never needed a cigarette so badly in the theater
Mm.
as all these people showing up and that sink's not braced yet. Um I just wanted to scream at everyone the whole time. I have made a lot of people watch this because people usually have very strong reactions, either good or bad. Mostly bad, but sometimes people love it. Uh, Again, I'm just sorry. I just was like, this will be perfect.
It's
John's
fine.
probably gonna
Yeah.
hate this, but
Oh man.
you should watch it a third time and think of it as like all of human history and like all the little things it's showing and thinking of the house as Earth. Like, it's pretty cool, honestly.
Oh,
It's
oh.
doing too much and it's very pretentious. I will 100% agree. But
Uh, yeah, one thing I think is kind of cool is the two sons on they're actually played by real life brothers.
mhm.
Is I didn't recognize the younger brother's actor, but I definitely recognize as Hall. I probably
Dom
am
Gleason.
yeah Gleason. I probably just not pronouncing that first name right, but yeah, I definitely recognized him. And it did very much surprise me how small of a role that a actor like him has.
I mean, even Kristen Wiig comes in for like three lines.
Yeah, the Kirsten Wig being the in his publicist and then Bernie people, I was just like, well, okay. Um, is that supposed to be? Is that supposed to be like maybe a symbolism for like corporations and having skeletons in their closet?
Yeah, but also think about how many people have been killed in the name of religion.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's just there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I've seen
And
this a bunch and I pick
with
up
the
on like new little things every single time.
um, with thinking about of it as a religious thing, um, at first when I was watching it, I was just thinking like him putting the black stuff in people's faces was just a cult thing. But I'm guessing, I think that was a reference to how the Roman Catholics put ashes on their face at least every
Mm-hmm.
year.
Yep.
Which I'm really honest. Even though I was part of the Catholic Church, I always thought that looked cultish. Like so weird here to be putting a thing just black ashes all over your face.
And I mean, if you think about communion, like that's super
Oh
weird.
yeah, it's
So
absolutely
weird.
is.
Speaking
Ugh.
of communion, what did you think of the baby?
Oh God, that was gross, very gross.
That's one of the most fun things. Just show this movie to somebody and
I,
watch their face when you hear the baby's neck just snap.
oh, and, then they had like right after that, everybody just started trying to rip at Jennifer Lawrence's character. I'm like, okay, wow, you guys are really going crazy.
Yeah, it kind of goes by dream logic. Watching it kind of feels like you're in a horrible nightmare. Like the time doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah, I
Because
was.
it's like everything like as she's going through the house, it's like you're seeing this in real time,
Mhm.
but it seems like you're missing. But I mean, there's a thing in the Bible where God's like a day is like 1,000 years.
Well,
And
I was also like, you mentioned how it doesn't seem to make sense, like timing, because and that reminded me of how when they're in the study after he gave birth, one of the shots, it's light out, and then it goes back to dark, and I was like, did they just spend the whole day in there,
they did.
or okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, just staying in there because she's trying to keep him away from the baby. She's trying to stay
Mhm.
awake. It
Uh,
also, what a great little robot baby. It looks so real.
oh man. Uh,
Did you notice that there are also only three shots in the film? It's either over Jennifer Lawrence's shoulder, what Jennifer Lawrence is seeing, or of Jennifer Lawrence's face. Those are the only three camera setups the entire movie.
okay. Not no, I noticed that. Oh, speaking of camera shots, there was one particular camera shot that I just felt was really unnecessary. When Michelle Pfeiffer's character tells Jennifer Lawrence to put something on that's more fitting for this occasion, and then they did a downward shot at her boobs. I'm like, why did you? Why was
Oh,
that needed?
so I just think that's funny because the whole entire time Jennifer Lawrence wakes up, goes down, all these people are there. They're like, "Can you say something?" All this stuff, and she looks down and realizes like she's basically wearing a see-through shirt because she'd been in bed. And I just think it's funny being like, "Oh, just go put on something appropriate at least." But I'm more just
It's
like
just like,
her just smoking in the house and
mhm.
ashing on the floor and just all of it. It's so disrespectful. So disrespectful. The entire
Oh yeah,
movie,
it's
everyone. I'm just like, oh, I feel bad for like existing on Earth after watching this movie.
yeah. It
Why are you painting my house? Just,
I put myself through college like that. Doesn't explain anything. Oh man. Oh, um, the at the beginning of the film, the next morning after or Ed Harris arrived, did he not remember that he was not feeling well the other night? Because he questioned when Lawrence asked if he was feeling better. Was that supposed to be alluding to something?
again, everything's not a complete like one-to-one, and a lot of stuff
Mhm.
in here is just to add to the feeling of unease and how stuff's just like not right.
Yeah,
Um,
makes sense. Yeah, that was, I have. I found really funny throughout the film was like, oh, wait, I like kept like people would be like, oh, this is like we think this as a bed and breakfast, and people coming out of nowhere, but there's not a road going to this house,
Mm-mm.
so
It is in the
it
middle of
really
nowhere,
so
no road.
like I feel like if I were Jennifer Lawrence, I would be like, did the no road not tip you off to the fact that this is not a place for guests?
Yeah, everything about it, it just feels like dream logic.
Yeah.
And when they're like, we're gonna go to the hospital and stuff, and then they're just like gone. She looks outside and just nothing's there. And it's like, this is literally in the middle of nowhere with no roads. You're in a huge clearing and they just disappeared. It just feels off. It's one of those movies that you just kind of have to like, don't question it. Just just
I
go
like
with
it's
what it's trying to do. Um,
yeah. Oh,
I love
this
all
is
those unsettling details, how it's just like, ugh.
I was thinking about the like funny explanation for Asian um for like all these people and the and like when they're not around like at the hospital. I was thinking, what if this is have you ever seen the show The Good Place?
I have not. I've been told I should
Okay.
watch it. I've been told it's very funny. Sean loves it.
Well,
I don't know a lot of comedy, you know?
well, there are demons that appear in it, and they pretend to be humans. But like but whenever they're not around the humans, they take off their human skins. They're just hanging out, goofing around, and I'm just thinking. I feel like this. I feel like these. I feel like it'd be funny if all these people are just as minions of the of Javier Van Damme's character, and they're just and whenever they're not around Jennifer Lawrence, they're all just hanging out, out goofing around.
Maybe.
Maybe they're just like sitting behind the house smoking, and like it's on they're on their break.
I love that idea personally.
Oh, man. I think that'll be. I think that adds a really funny eye touch to the film, though it obviously doesn't need any kind of funny touch.
I mean, I
Uh,
find aspects of it very funny, but just because it's so uncomfortable, you kind of have to laugh at it. But yeah, it's not a funny film. It's very, very
yeah, no,
serious,
yeah.
and uh,
Oh,
people did not understand it. People really hated it. They got really mad. It made no money. It bombed so hard. Uh, one of the biggest box office flops. Like, it just didn't work.
I do think is um visually very well made. It looks really cool, very cool, old looking visuals. Like um even something as simple as the bloody floor that starts glowing and breaking through it. I think all the visuals in the film are beautifully done.
Yeah, I mean, his movies are always gorgeous. Hopefully this doesn't spoil you from the director completely, because I would really recommend like a
Yeah.
lot of his movies that are a lot more accessible. This one,
Uh, um,
like go watch Black Swan, Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis. Mila Kunis eats Natalie Portman out. It's great. Um,
oh, Darren Aronofsky is I have not watched any of the films for him. Uh, I've heard that most of his films are very serious, like this one,
they are.
and so that's so it doesn't seem like he's probably a director I'm gonna enjoy. And I also have heard that
The
there are a
rest of
lot
his are
of
not near as weird as this one. They at least
that
make sense.
I his particularly. recently one of his films was had a lot of controversy because he put Brendan Fraser in a fat suit,
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
which um is which from what I've heard is very offensive and fat phobic to people. Well, though the apparently the actual content of the film is not, but just that the fact they used a fat suit annoyed a lot of people. So and also it's just apparently a very depressing film. So at the very least, I definitely do not want to watch The Whale.
Yeah, it didn't look like something I would enjoy. I always meant to watch it because I love Brendan Fraser and I like most of Darren Aronofsky's stuff and I really like him as a director. But that one I was just like, kind of looks
Yeah,
boring. I don't get offended
I
about
was
stuff a lot of
so
times. It kind of
it's
depends
not
on
a
like context.
it's not a film that I want to see, but it is a film that I'm happy that it exists because of the fact that it got Brendan Fraser an Oscar because I think after what he's been through, he absolutely deserves
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that was another reason I try to watch all like the Oscar movies and stuff every year, but that one I was just like, I should get to it. Thank you for reminding me of that. I should watch that. My dad has to have surgery tomorrow, so I was like, maybe I'll just watch The Whale while I'm like in the waiting room.
Oh, one thing I heard last year, I think is utterly insane in sense as from what I've heard, a lot of his films are like very pretentious, sometimes depressing and serious.
Requiem for
Is
a Dream is one of the
that
most depressing movies you would ever see in your life. Like
I
it is a
like
5-star amazing film, but like we covered it on the podcast last year at some point, and because of rescheduling stuff, I ended up having to watch that maybe 3 times in one week, and I was like,
Hmm. I just said that I've definitely done something like that before. Um,
I'm like, I don't
but
know how I have not slit my wrist and just want to go curl up in
yeah,
my bed for a week and a half after that, but
what I
it
found
was a rough
what
week.
I found absolutely insane because of what I know about of Darren Aronofsky is that he was the director chosen to make a movie for the Las Vegas Sphere. Like that just feels strange to me. Like I feel like something like that you're gonna want just like a director who's really simple and accessible to most
I mean,
people.
Martin
Oh, to
Scorsese
design
just
like
did
that.
like a Chanel perfume commercial with Timothy Chalamet, so a job's a job.
Yeah. I just find it strange that he's the person they would hire for that. And oh,
I mean, I feel like he would actually be a good fit for something like that because visually he does know what he's doing and has some very iconic shots and stuff. So I think he would be good
but
for
also at
the
the same
Sphere.
time, I feel like the idea of watching something inside the spear would get old really fast. So I would just be like, it doesn't matter what director makes it. I'd just be like, I after like 10 minutes, I'd be like, I'd rather just a regular movie theater. I feel like I'd be like, I just think it would get old how it is in there.
I mean, I'll probably never really go. Vegas
Yeah,
isn't like high on my. I've been to the
I
airport at
probably
Vegas,
would
but
wouldn't either. But yeah,
like most of the appeals of the city, I'm just like, I think gambling is a huge waste of money and just all of that stuff. I'm just like, this sounds like a really
it's
expensive vacation that I would just rather go do something else. So I doubt I'll
I
ever.
mean, um, if you don't do gambling, you can make it be pretty cheap for you. Because I've heard apparently there are hotels there where it's like $10 a night. I just because they want to get you in there so that you'll go down and gamble. If you choose
That
to
is a
not
good point.
gamble, you can get a really cheap vacation.
That is true, but like, what is there to do besides gamble?
I mean, I saw a video of the hotel room. It's pretty nice. I'm pretty sure the place has a pool. Also, uh, I wouldn't mind hanging by the pool most of the time.
It's
Like,
fair.
I, I find that that swimming in a pool, and particularly like when I'm by myself, up to be like one of the most calming activities I can do.
It really is. I just don't know how calm anything at
Yeah, I
Vegas could
don't
really
know.
be.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a problem. Yeah.
It's a lot of neon.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'll just keep to watching movies that are set in Vegas instead.
Yeah, I always prefer to watch movies about something than actually have to go do it. I like the remove,
Oh man.
they all do it
Oh,
better anyway.
is there anything else you want to talk about with this movie?
I don't think so. I hit my main points. I more just wanted to see your reaction to this as my revenge for Onyx the Fortuitous.
Oh man.
Yeah, I think it's I like it. I think it's really smart. It might be trying to do a little bit too much, but I like a movie that makes me think, and anything that takes a stab at religion after growing up super Christian, I'm always going to appreciate. And this movie
that
made
makes
Christian
sense.
a lot of Christians and church people really mad. So it's just something I'm always going to support, and
Yeah,
I just think it's funny to make people watch Mother.
it's it'll always be funny to me how Christians are always the ones who are like you all are a bunch of snowflakes when it's usually they are the ones who are the bunch of snowflakes.
Yeah, very offended very easily.
Yeah. And, when I used to be in Christianity, I never found things that were joking about Christianity offensive. I always was just like,
I mean, you can't.
I always
I would
saw
see
it.
it and be like, oh, well, I mean, they got a
I
point.
always saw it. I always saw it as like I'm in on the joke. When I
Yeah.
like I thought that was I thought that was fun. Like I never had I was never like, oh dear God, they dare joke about this thing. Like um if a film even a film even mentioned God in a negative manner, I wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid. And it was
Hmm.
like I even just for one line in the film, I'm like, really? That's dumb.
I have a film that I mean, you might take it with a grain of salt after me telling you to watch Mother, but I do genuinely think you would actually really like it. Saved from 2004, maybe. It's got Mandy Moore and Jenna Malone and Macaulay Culkin. It's set around people at a Christian school,
Uh-uh.
and it is very, very funny, especially if you have any sort of knowledge of how accurate it is. Highly recommend.
Well, I would have knowledge about of how active it is for religion, not about school as I was homeschooled, but I'd be willing to give it a shot. A
And
shot.
it's a comedy, so it's actually like, your type of thing.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember. One film in particular. I remember as a kid that I never understood exactly why what was about it that was making fun of God. But I was told I couldn't watch it, and it always made me want to watch it as a kid. Now as an adult, I don't really because I've heard it's not actually a good film. But The Golden Compass.
Um, so The Golden Compass, I have not read the books. And the movie, you're right, it's not a good movie. I do kind of like it because I think Nicole Kidman puts in an amazing performance in it. But yeah, it's the themes of the story are very heavily coded anti-Catholic.
Okay.
Um, so
I was assuming it was just like some one line joke about God or something.
no, it's just like the whole entire story like is
Okay.
kind of a metaphor for Catholicism and how they control people and the damage like and it's like a kid's story. But if you do want to experience the story of the Golden Compass, there is a series on HBO that was 3 seasons that adapted the books called His Dark Materials, which is the name of the book series. It's a trilogy of books.
Interesting.
I highly recommend that. It's very good and is the good version of the story as opposed to the film, The Golden Compass.
I feel like a lot of book series have ended up finding eyeing that they're much better adapted in TV form lately than
Yes, I
in
have
movie.
long said that the best way to adapt most books is as a limited series.
I the best book to TV series thing I've ever seen, and I think it was absolutely brilliant at how they did this. Is the Netflix A Series of Unfortunate Events series.
Yeah, and they did
Like
that.
I
They did
thought that
that
was
really well.
I thought the way that they did that, like having it was like 2 to 3 episodes per book, I thought that was a really cool way of doing it.
Yeah, and those books are so small and simple enough. You can do that in like 2 hour long episodes, whereas like
Hmm.
a lot and giving us that whole series, I think was just so amazing. I'm so glad Netflix
Oh
did that
yeah,
for us. I don't
And
have a
Neil
lot of good
Patrick
things to say about Netflix, but the series of unfortunate events, thank you.
and Neil Patrick Harris was absolutely great as Count Olhoff.
Yeah, the cast for that
Like
show was amazing. I was so delighted at some of the people that popped up throughout that series.
you know,
But
I had not seen before watching that. I hadn't seen the Jim Carrey version of it. I'm glad that I watched that first. Or it's just because that is definitely the better version of it.
well, yeah, because they
Though
tried to squeeze three of the books into
yeah,
that one movie.
so I watched them for the first time actually the Jim Carrey version last year, and it was and I still enjoyed it,
Yeah, Jim
but it
Carrey's
is
great. I really
it
like the
is
actor for
uh,
Violet.
it is
Uh,
weird how much they try to cram in it but I do think it is sad that it didn't work out because Jim Carrey was so great as
mm,
Count Olaf. But they're very different vibes, Jim Carrey's one and Neil
yeah.
Patrick Harris's, but they're both perfect for it.
Yeah, I would say Neil Patrick Harris actually strikes the tone of Count Olaf from the books better. But I mean, as a millennial, I just really love Jim Carrey.
Oh yeah, I'm
Even with
not a
how much I don't
millennial.
like comedy, I'm like, Jim Carrey is amazing. He can do no wrong.
I'm not a millennial, but I absolutely love Jim Carrey as well. He is a absolute legend in acting, and not only with his comedy, I've seen him in some more serious roles, and I really love his serious acting.
Yeah, I mean, Eternal Sunshine is amazing. I think he's
Mhm.
really good in The Majestic, The Truman Show, uh,
Have you
Numbers or
seen
whatever the fuck it was called. I don't remember loving, but the number seven, I don't remember what it was called.
have you seen his TV show Kidding?
Mm-mm.
You should watch that. It is there is some comedy in it, but it's very much a serious story. Ori and he gives one of my absolute favorite performances from him. It's about this about a um basically a children's show host and his real life outside of that and it gets really dark and sad. We find out that his son had been killed in an accident with a drunk driver, and he gives such a beautiful performance in it.
Is that a Showtime show?
Yes.
Sweet. Yeah, I can watch that.
But well, I don't think there's really anything else to talk about with this review. So I'm gonna start ending this off. Unless is there any final thing you'd like to say?
No, just again, my apologies for making you watch this. I
Oh,
needed
it's
to
all
get you
right,
in a little
man.
bit, and I wish I could have just made you like video yourself watching it. Um, because
Oh
that's
man.
my favorite is watching people watch Mother, which as when you say mother, you're supposed to go mother because of the exclamation point in my opinion. But I'm glad you watched it and didn't
Um,
like hate it the second time. And I'm glad you watched it a second time. I wasn't gonna like make you, but it is one of those movies that like
uh, I
I
I
think you
plan
appreciate it more every watch.
I plan on watching every film I do for my podcast twice. I'll do once like a couple days before, and then once on the day of recording. I mean, just so that I watched it the second time just so that my thoughts are perfectly fresh right before or reviewing it.
So Sean and I, before we started our podcast, we were like, yeah, we're gonna watch everything twice. And he still does a lot of the time. I mostly don't unless it's a movie that I've just like never seen before. Unless I just really hate it and I'm just like, no, I'm not giving any more time to this. And I've gotten really good at being able to just like watch it once and like
Mhm.
gather my thoughts for it. But plus I'm just so busy, it's hard to watch stuff twice. But
Makes
so it
sense.
doesn't always happen. Every once in a while, but he's still good at that. So props to you for always making yourself watch something
I
twice.
think so. I always worry that I'm gonna forget stuff of if I don't watch it again right before or recording. So that's the main reason why I always try to do that. But yeah, and the only times I don't plan on watching something twice is if I'm reviewing something that's in theaters because I'm not
Mhm.
gonna take multiple trips to the theater to review something.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. And if you like this gamma analysis, please give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify. I please check out Clayton on the Men Who Like Movies podcast. As it's a great a time over there. Him and Sean are absolutely hilarious people. And they have great thoughts on films. So check them out. I love your thoughts on the film. So please let me know. And if you'd like to listen more from me, please subscribe. Many more game analysis from me coming. So keep on the lookout. This again is your host, Master John, signing off.